Welcome to a new Daily Top AskReddit video. Today's topic:
what is a dead giveaway that someone grew up in an abusive household? Me and a roommate were having a disagreement in the kitchen, and I absent-mindedly reached into a cabinet above for a plate to make a sandwich. The roommate flinched as I reached up. So that. I used to get in trouble for flinching, and also for putting my hands up to block a blow. But the flinching made her look bad in public. Maybe if you didn't hit me so often I wouldn't flinch. Exclamation mark. She didn't care for that logic. Yeah, my stepdad's solution to that problem was to repeatedly hit me until I stopped flinching. People would remark in my late teens and early 20s how unshakable I was, that nothing could get a reaction out of me. I would joke that the ability to feel fear was beaten out of me as a child. They never caught on that it wasn't a joke. Apologize for everything that isn't your fault. Take blame for events around you that don't involve you. Do everything you can to minimize emotional outbursts of others. It's not great. Add being defensive and resentful and passive-aggressive. All the above, and this with a terrible self-image and lack of confidence to boot. Deep down I know that everything that goes wrong is not my fault, but on the observable, superficial level, because I'm terrified of anyone else's anger, I over-apologize, take the blame, and try to fix it. However, because the problem really isn't my fault, I'm very conflicted, and I will also try to defend myself, and resent you because I think you're blaming me, whether you are or not. It's made my life a terrible mess, and it is a deeply ingrained response that's very hard to correct. My mother had a personality disorder, never diagnosed because she refused to seek treatment and would threaten my father with divorce and getting full custody when he tried to get her to some sort of counseling. Being raised by a malignant narcissist will fuck you up. Easily startled, terrified of making them so upset, refusing to speak to one or both parents, overthinking about small mistakes. Also, left home by the quickest and most convenient method possible: marriage, enlistment, college in another state, etc. Yep. All three. Got married to my army boyfriend at 16. He was 18. We got TF out of Dodge together. It didn't last, but we were set free. Just turned 17 and offered college acceptance clear across the country. Sounded like a plan to me. Not a great idea in the end, but better than the alternative. Do you know me? S. I know our parents were subpar, winking face. They don't ask for help with anything. Ever. I'm always afraid to ask for help. I have this issue as well. There was one incident with a friend that really helped me that I try to remember when needed. We were at a friend's celebration of life and had to quickly clean up the room we'd rented as they were closing. I had a broken foot and was getting around with a boot cast and a walker. I jumped in to help stack chairs and clear tables with everyone else. Finally, one of my closer friends said, "Just a tiny dude, we know you can do these things and it's very impressive, but we can see you're in pain and you're making us all feel like assholes. Would you please take a seat and let us take care of this?" It really drove in the point that despite being denied basic needs as a kid to the point where I stopped asking, I now have friends who want to help, and want me to ask for it. That was 5 years ago and I'm still working on it, but I try to remember those words when I do really need help with something. I still get no's sometimes, but the yeses are ones I wouldn't get if I hadn't asked. Even if someone offers, I have to take a minute to assess the potential risk of them using it for later manipulation. It took me too long to realize that kindness with strings isn't kindness. It's a trap, and when it comes from my family it's likely always a trap, or at least will be thrown in my face when they make me feel bad before they need something from me. It's probably why I feel guilty the times when I need help. As a result of my childhood, I over-explain everything. I assume I won't be believed. I randomly start crying when I have the slightest feeling that the other person won't believe me, even if it is very obvious I'm not lying. Like saying the sun shines while it's almost blinding me and I still think they think I'm lying. This is me, over-explaining and trying to think one step ahead to cut off criticism before it starts. If I don't get my words out fast enough and with enough disclaimers, then I won't be able to defend myself. Trying to think one step ahead to cut off criticism before it starts. This kind of hypervigilant planning has the paradoxical effect of making me extremely indecisive and passive. There are too many permutations to calculate before making a safe decision. This is anecdotal, true for me, but I have no idea if it applies to others. I love being alone. I'm not an introvert. When I am around other people I'm very outgoing. But given the choice I greatly prefer being alone. I'm safe when I'm alone. I hear you, being married makes it hard to find that alone time, but I hear you. I'm so happy that I found a partner who is like me. We are alone together, but not lonely. They freeze when people start yelling. Weirded out by a family being nice to one another. Upset when you see a happy family dinner in shows or movies. Edit, thanks for the PM. Yes, I was giving personal experiences. Yes, I'm fine, but I still have those above. OMG, even a slightly raised voice makes me want to hide or run or change the subject. I get the shakes and it is very hard to calm them down after. Took an hour for my hands to stop shaking after a neighborhood bully's dad got mad at me for telling his kid to leave mine alone and decided I was the bad guy. I want to vent. I used to freeze when people were yelling or fighting up until around 4th grade. I had reached out to teachers and the school officer and brought up what was going on at home. Which they concluded that there's no way a family acts like that and that I must be making up stories. So I dropped it and lived with it. When I'd see friends' parents and they were acting all loving and nice, to me it felt super fake and scripted it. It was very uncomfortable, like being on a set of a movie, when I'm a terrible actor. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? At what point do I need to go to another room so your parents can duke it out? And when they didn't, I'm like, don't change your routine on my behalf. I wasn't allowed to have friends over my house, so it wasn't like someone could say, your parents are fucked up. And when I got older, I was not going to invite friends over, mostly because I knew I'd probably have to wake them up in the middle of the night with my routine. My father had tried to kill us a few times, leaving a car running in the garage when he went to work at 2 a.m. or leaving the heat off and opening all the windows and doors in the house in the dead of a winter with below zero temps. I legit did not realize how fucked up that was until I was like 16, and my girlfriend witnessed it. I would just wake up in the middle of the night and make sure doors were closed, heat was on, car wasn't running. Now I'm trying to keep a line of communication open with my parents for the sake of the rest of my family. Most people still wouldn't believe me, but occasionally my mom will say something to unlock and confirm an old memory, like, remember when your dad killed your dog in front of you? She thinks doing that is funny. I'm like, can you put that in writing? That is beyond terrible, and I'm sorry you have to grow up like this. You deserved so much better. I'm also so disappointed that your teachers and school officer failed you. People from good, or not completely psycho, families sometimes don't believe your parents could have been that bad, because it wasn't possible in their head. It's shitty when people invalidate you like that, but it's 10x worse when it's a teacher. Even if they think a kid is exaggerating or telling stories, they can't just ignore it. That's why mandatory reporters exist, so they have to report it whether they believe it or not. I hope you done therapy or whatever you need to understand it was not your fault and you didn't imagine it. You deserved better. They are really good at finding out what people in authority wants to hear, and some are really good at manipulation as a result. Not due to evil means, necessarily, but to survive and get by. Manipulation in a certain sense maybe. When a parent can blow up in a fit of rage in an instant, you become extremely attuned to the slightest indicator that a rage is about to happen, so you become very keyed into not only verbal but non-verbal language that most people aren't aware of and aren't aware they're telegraphing. It's purely defensive, but it can seem like you're actively trying to keep people in their calm zone using their own signals. That's called emotional regulation. They can't regulate their emotions, so you have to do it for them. Being good at manipulating people and situations without realizing it. You learn to read someone's emotions well and how to spin a situation to keep yourself safe. Underrated comment: being manipulative without meaning to. Not in a bad way, but trying to massage a situation or a person to ease tension or discomfort or to avoid awkwardness. Yeah, took me a while to realize I don't have to do that with everyone. Has done wonders for me professionally, though, and I can diffuse a lot of situations. Therapist checking in here. A more subtle one is that they are hyper-aware of their surroundings and people's emotions. As that was a tool of safety that tends to not be able to be shut off as they become an adult. Edit: yes, this can also be true for people that were in an abusive relationship. I have this. I think it's like a superpower. Because I had to walk on eggshells as a kid and ensure the emotional needs of my mum were met all the time, I am extremely good at assessing my surroundings. I'm a dentist and the patients love me because I can literally see like one small facial muscle move and know they're in pain or discomfort and address it before they've even said anything. I think being a child of a narcissist or some other abuser creates empaths. We develop those skills to literally survive, but in adulthood can use them elsewhere. They can identify people based on their footsteps and cry in absolute silence. Half of my teenage years were spent just laying in my bed doing nothing, hearing my mom pace around downstairs on the hardwood floors, heel walker, and anxiously hoping those footsteps didn't start walking towards my room. Shit, I feel this. I lived in the basement and would hear screaming matches every other day. The worst times were when the downstairs door would open and they would start stomping down the stairs toward me. That feeling of dread never left me, fucking hated every second of it. Can't relax, what if something needs to be done? Exclamation mark. As my therapist said in response to describing myself as an active relaxer because it makes me uncomfortable to lounge on a beach while on vacation or watch TV, Doc, well yeah, it's pretty normal for someone with your abusive background to have anxiety. Me, anxiety. What, Doc? Yeah, humans are excellent relaxers. Preserving energy is an evolutionary survival trait. You just described not being comfortable on a beach while on vacation. That's not normal. That's anxiety. Me, oh. Been 5 years since understanding my anxiety and I can now relax with my fam. Got to know the problem before you can find a solution. This is the worst. Need sleep. Lay down because you think you have everything done, but as soon as you lay down you feel an adrenaline rush that tells you to get back up because things are not finished. So you cannot sleep now and have to get up and find something to achieve for that hour.